Settle down, the minister has arrived. I would like to ask you to all stand until the dignitaries arrive. Can I also remind colleagues to keep their phones on silent or switched off? Thank you. We may sit. Thank you. Morning once again, colleagues. My name is Comfort Mkize. I'm the Associate Professor of International and Diplomacy Studies at the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs. I hope that I'm audible to colleagues online. Let me also extend my greetings to colleagues online. And I would like to say you are all welcome. And thank you for making time to join this important seminar, which looks at the tectonic shifts in global politics. And from where I'm sitting, I think this seminar of today is timely and topical, but I don't want to steal the limelight. I want to just remind you that in my program, I will have Ndade David Leswalo, who's gonna come to do the opening remarks. And then shortly after, I will have Ambassador Ibrahim Sali. And then shortly after that, I will have His Excellency, Dr. Said. And then from there, we will allow for questions and answer sessions. So colleagues, seeing that we are behind schedule, I don't want to waste more time. Allow me to call upon Ndade David Leswalo, the Director for Academic Support and Student Affairs, Internationalization and Community Engagement at the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs. He's going to do the introduction and opening remarks. Ndade Leswalo, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Yes, there it is. Program Director, Professor Comfort Mkize, in the Thabo Mbeki School, Professor Boitumelo Sinokwani, the Acting Executive Director for the Department of Institutional Advancement in the university. His Excellency Dr. Syed Khatibzadeh, the Deputy Foreign Minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran, His Excellency Mr. Mansour Shakib Meh, the Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran in South Africa, His Excellency Ambassador Ibrahim Saleh, former South African Ambassador in Iran, His Excellency Mr. Salim Omar Abdu, Ambassador of the State of Eritrea and Dean of Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Dr. Nzapayeke, Ambassador of the Central African Republic and Dean of the African Diplomats, members of the Diplomatic Corps from the embassies of Guinea, Singapore, Pakistan, Venezuela, Russia, Trinidad and Tobago, Iraq, Cameroon, Colombia, Ethiopia, British High Commission, the Unisa ambassadors in residence, Ambassador Nozipo Mkakato Diseko and Ambassador Welile Nhlapo, the TM School Board member, Ms. Zina Adam, Unisa staff and students, TM School staff and postdoctoral fellows, representatives from various media houses, distinguished members of the audience, both on site and online, ladies and gentlemen, ke re thobela ke go lotša ma-Afrika. Rose Begay, Zo Begay. Good day, good afternoon, salam alaikum. Ke re kgotsa beleleng. I stand here on behalf of the Executive Dean of the TM School, Professor Edith Paswana, who on account of prior engagements is not with us today. Despite this, we know that she is somehow present here with us in spirit. This is underscored by the fact that she has sent her warm greetings to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, this seminar is timely and relevant. It is relevant because it offers us the opportunity to engage on issues that invariably impact everyone, directly and indirectly, everywhere in the world today as we speak. A lot of issues have predominated as in recent times, including the conflicts in Africa, in Eastern Europe, what happened in Venezuela, what is happening in Cuba, in the Middle East, and so on and so on. The theme of this seminar, Tectonic Shifts in Global Politics, presents a good canvas for us to reflect on these various issues and how to unravel theoretical, philosophical, and pragmatic questions in international relations and diplomacy, geopolitics, global security, international economic trade, international law, and so forth. This aspect, out of logical necessity, leads to the critical and pithy question that remains fundamental in academic and intellectual spaces. And that question is, what is the role of institutions such as universities in society? In short, why do we have universities? The brief answer I can conjure in this regard lies in their contribution to human lives and development, human progress and human advancement. This brings to the fore the issues of how humans relate to one another and how they relate to the environment, at least. The University of South Africa has captured the essence of this question by framing its role as the African university shaping futures in the service of humanity. I sincerely believe there is no better way of answering this question than what this university has so magnificently done. It is clear that we cannot speak of the African university if we do not comprehend the mission to decolonize and question the pan-European hegemon in education and the broader society. In this regard, the tenacious promotion of social justice in global terms should, in my view, lie at the center of what universities generally should and must do. I am tempted to borrow from one of the most accomplished human beings to have walked this earth, who said, and I quote, "An injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere." This powerful sentiment resonates with the university's vision of being of service to humanity. And injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. This further echoes the notion that complacency or the so-called neutrality in the face of injustice amounts to complicity. The Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs, as part of this mega university, inevitably addresses this function of service to humanity in terms of its academic and social mandate in the areas of public and international affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, you would be highly interested to recognize that the Thabo Mbeki School is premised on the quest to produce graduates who can solve complex problems in Africa and beyond. The school also understands that this mammoth task can only be achieved in a space that encourages critical analysis as opposed to spaces that represent a repression of critique. The various focus areas that underpin the MA and PhD programs in public and international affairs in the school are designed to equip students and leaders to be innovative in their responses to societal challenges, be it via international and diplomacy studies, citizenship studies, public leadership, the study of government affairs, peace and conflict studies, sustainable livelihoods and resource management, urban and rural affairs, and so on and so on. The university, and indeed the school, recognize the sanctity of academic freedom and spaces of free intellectual engagement, free from bias and capture in whatever shape or form. This reflective seminar should be understood and seen in this context, ladies and gentlemen. The current tectonic shift in global politics is a theme that aligns and speaks to our role and contribution as a university and as the School of Public and International Affairs. We are confident that this seminar will go a long way in opening up deep conversations about this theme, as what is happening in the world today, particularly when it comes to multilateralism and global conflict, is a formidable matter impacting on geopolitics and quite undeniably on geoeconomics. Of course, these have a ripple effect on global security, international relations, and geostrategies. We need to take to heart that today, nations are running helter-skelter in a world marked by radically changed approaches and attitudes to diplomacy and multilateralism broadly. It is ultimately unwise for anyone involved in statecraft and government affairs to proceed without a sound grasp of and a grip on these tectonic shifts in global politics. It thus becomes imperative that universities and schools such as ourselves, as the University of South Africa, and of course the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs, play an educative part in this respect. We are certainly excited that we are now set for a moment to freely engage on such a pertinent theme. Your Excellency, Deputy Minister Dr. Syed Khatibzadeh, we cannot wait to listen to and ravenously digest your presentation on an appropriate topic, namely development in West Africa. I want to assure you that in the spirit of intellectual engagement befitting and indeed expected from a university of this stature, this house of intellectuals, scholars, diplomats, and informed participants will thoroughly engage your presentation. I am speaking without flinching because I know that we have the requisite brain power, intellectual prowess, and acumen in this space that will be pivotal to the reflections. This will definitely assist us in unraveling whatever needs to be unraveled, using tools of wisdom, insight, and iteration derived from experience and pragmatism on issues of diplomacy, global relations, and multilateralism. It is therefore quite fulfilling and enthusing that we have in our midst international relations powerhouses in the persons of the two ambassadors of residence in this university, Unisa, in the persons of Ambassador Welile Nhlapo and Ambassador Nosipo Mtakatu Diseko, as well as Ambassador Ibrahim Saleh, who will surely offer the requisite illumination, comprehension, and initiation to the anticipated conversation. We appreciate that, for obvious reasons, Ambassador Ibrahim Saleh, former ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Iran, is one of the program participants. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, mine is not to give a speech, but rather to welcome you all on behalf of the Dean of the school, Professor Edith Paswana, and the entire university, as led by the Principal and Vice Chancellor, Professor Puleni Nkabula. What's left for me is to say, let's feast in the space of robust and critical engagement. At this stage, please allow me to take this opportunity to emphatically say, you're welcome to the University of South Africa, the University of the whole continent of Africa, the University of humankind, the University of humanity. Program participants, members of the audience, both here on site and on various platforms, you are all welcome. Indeed, Khosh Madedi, because this is your home. The ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran in South Africa, His Excellency Mansour Shakib Meher, and Honorable Deputy Minister Khatib Zadeh will understand when I say this, that this is your home, because where they come from, they fully understand that in humanity, our home is your home. Kanye ma, Kanye Shomaz. Kyalabo Africa, merci, Moshakram, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Letswell. Actually, I didn't want to use a shambok because I didn't bring it today. But I know that you had a lot to say, but unfortunately, due to time, I had to cut him short. But of course, what he has just shared with us is quite pertinent. I will just change the program slightly. I would abuse my powers if we all agree. I will call upon the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran to just shortly say a few words, and then thereafter I will ask Ambassador Ibrahim Saleh to come and introduce the Deputy Foreign Minister. Ambassador, the floor is yours. Thank you.
I promise very short. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Excellencies, distinguished guests, professors of university, students, honorable ambassadors and high commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the organizers of this event, Thabo Mbeki School and Unisa. I also warmly welcome all our distinguished guests, respected scholars and researchers, esteemed academics, and experienced diplomats, whose presence have added great value and significance to this gathering. Your valuable participation reflects the importance of the subject of this meeting and our shared commitment to dialogue, the exchanging of ideas, and working together in the fields of politics, international relations, economics, and international cooperation. I sincerely thank all of you for being here and hope that this event will lead to constructive and lasting outcomes. The purpose of the visit of Dr. Saeed Khatibzadeh, Honorable Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran and President of the Institute for Political and International Studies, IPIS, of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as Mr. Khosravi Nejad, Honorable Assistant Minister and Director General for Africa, to South Africa is to expand academic, intellectual, and university cooperation, as well as bilateral ties through meeting and discussions with think tanks, holding engagement with academics and leading scholars, and meeting with South African government officials. Dear friends, relations between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Republic of South Africa holds a special importance within the foreign policy of both countries and also in the framework of South-South cooperation. These relations are rooted in the two countries' shared history of fighting against colonialism and racial discrimination, their support for international justice, and their opposition to unfair global systems. These common values helped establish lasting cooperation between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Republic of South Africa after the end of apartheid in 1994. At the strategic level, Iran and South Africa, as two important countries located in the sensitive region of West Asia and the African continent, have significant potential to expand cooperation in political, economic, energy, science and technology, academic, and diplomatic fields. In addition, the membership of both countries in BRICS and their common support for multilateralism, the reform of the global order, and the strengthening of the role of developing countries have further increased the importance of their relationship at both the regional and international levels. Distinguished guests, let me introduce our guest. Honorable Dr. Khatibzadeh, Deputy Foreign Minister and President of IPIS of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, previously served as Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran to Croatia, Advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Deputy Foreign Minister, a spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Director General of IPIS. He has also served in diplomatic missions in Berlin and Ottawa. He is one of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs experienced and forward-thinking senior officials, and I am confident that this visit will mark positive beginning for a new chapter in relations between our two countries. I hope that this meeting will contribute a better understanding of current regional developments and will help strengthen relations between our two countries and expand cooperation in all areas, particularly in academic and research fields. I also hope that it will provide a solid foundation for deeper mutual understanding and more constructive cooperation in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Quite impactful, but very short. So, colleagues, without further ado, allow me to call upon Ambassador Ibrahim Sali, a former South Africa ambassador to Iran, former Deputy Director General, Global Governance and Continental Agenda at DERCO. So what he's going to do is going to remind us about South Africa and Iran relations, and is also going to do an intro to the Deputy Foreign Minister. Ambassador, the floor is yours. I see they are still preparing you, but thank you.
I think I'm fully prepared. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to Your Excellency, Deputy Minister Shakib Zadeh, and ambassadors, diplomatic staff, and faculty. I want to start by thanking the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs and Unisa for affording me this opportunity to say a few words. Unfortunately, I was preparing for a longer engagement, but I discovered now that I only have 10 minutes, so I have to be very short. There are some things that Your Excellency, Deputy Minister, there are some things that I wanted to say when it comes to South Africa's relationship with the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I think it's not often said that in 1979, amongst the first foreign policy decisions that Imam Khomeini took was to break relations with apartheid South Africa and with the State of Israel. By doing that, there was, an immediate embargo of the oil. Iran used to supply 85% of South Africa's oil. And suddenly, the apartheid government was in shock because this oil flow stopped. And I think your level of solidarity was very, very impactful. Imam Khomeini's decision at that time was hugely appreciated. I remember that I was a student then, and we were very inspired by the revolution, the Islamic revolution in the Islamic Republic. And I want to also, on a separate note, I want to offer our condolences where it was very difficult to witness this war of choice, this imposed war, and where the first targets was the leader of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khamenei, Allah yarham, and his family, and also the school, the 168 primary school students. It was very, very, very sad, and I think the world understands the level of barbarity in that action. I also am convinced that those were the actions that led to the inevitable failure in the war of those forces who wanted to impose their will on Iran. I say to you that as we know, the negotiations are going on, and I believe sincerely and wholeheartedly that Iran will come out as the victor, and inshallah you will not have all our relations between South Africa and Iran will not be encumbered by issues of sanctions and secondary sanctions. It shows great promise, and I wish that I was in Iran to take that forward, because I know the potential that was, but that couldn't go anywhere because of the sanctions and the inability to conduct banking transactions because everything was embargoed. But I wish you success in the negotiations. I had quite a few of anecdotal stories, but I will not tell you all, except that I was one of the people that could go to Jamaran. And in fact, I even took my daughter a day before we were coming from back to South Africa. And I took her to see the Hawaze, and also to see where Imam Khomeini lived. That little room with the rolled up carpet. And I think my intention was to impress on my children that a great man lived there who shook the world from a little, I wouldn't say a big room. And so that was, I have many friends in the foreign ministry. One of my first visits, even, I know it's not diplomatic practice, but my first visits, when I arrived, I told the chief of protocol, we were very, very good friends with Ambassador Muzaffari. And I told him that I want to make a visit, and he told me, you can't visit until you present your credentials to President Ahmadinejad. So I said, well, yes, but you don't understand. This is a visit that I'd like to make, and I promised myself that I will do that. I want to visit the shrine of Imam Khomeini. And immediately he agreed. And I went. That was my first visit. I also went to the cemetery, Beshti Zahra. And yeah, it was, as you can see, my memory is quite good, and I can go on and on about my engagements in Iran. As South Africa and Iran, we have achieved some things against all odds. The joint venture between MTN and Irancell, in which MTN has 49% shares. I mean, it has been very, very successful. And it's one of the flagship projects that we achieved, despite all the problems around sanctions and the obstacles. I also want to say that the bilateral relations between the Islamic Republic and the Republic of South Africa have always been strong. Strong because of what I said. In our difficult times, you were there in solidarity, and in your difficult times, we were there. We voted, or in all international fora, we were always on the right side. Sometimes voting for resolutions in favor of Iran, and sometimes abstaining. It was very, very difficult to do that, as you would know. I think we are now also BRICS partners. And South Africa had much to do, I'm sure, with the inclusion of Iran in the BRICS partnership. We also have had joint commissions, and a man that I respected very much really pushed that, also who passed away, His Excellency Allah Yarham Abdullahian. He was really a pillar when I was there as an ambassador. So there is very, very promising developments between our two countries. And I believe that it will grow exponentially because I am convinced wholeheartedly that through the negotiations at the moment in Switzerland, Bergenstock, there will be an ease to the sanctions and to all the other points that Iran has taken into the negotiations. And we wish you a lot of success on that. I can't see why there wouldn't be any success. The last time I was in Unisa, I mentioned that I told the audience that that Americans and Israelis cannot win a war against Iran because of their very, very formidable two generals. And I actually tweeted that they will never be able to overcome General Alborz and General Zagros. As you know, these are the two mountain ranges around Iran. And now I add another general, and that is General Hormuz. I think that with that combination, there is no way that Iran will not be successful, and we wish you that success. I realize that I'm looking at the program director. So is my time, am I still within my time? I have 2 more minutes. So, yes, inshallah. So in my 2 minutes, there are lots of things I would like to say. I already indicated to you that I have very good friends. I've been to the institute that you were head of. It was a very good institute. If my memory serves me correct, there was also a cleric. His name was very peculiar, and that's why I will always remember. He was Masjid Jami, yes? Yes. So, yes, and we were very close. And then I also was very close, as I told you earlier, to Ambassador Suleimanpour. I remember sitting with Ambassador Suleimanpour and talking about projects. He had lots of ideas about projects that we could do between South Africa and the Islamic Republic. But unfortunately, there was the shadow or the specter of the sanctions that didn't allow us to realize that. But inshallah, the future is now for ours to write. So thank you and all the success. I want to just introduce the Deputy Minister. I said a few things, but the Deputy Minister has been in the Department of Foreign Affairs, Iran's Foreign Affairs. It's a very beautiful building. It is a building where, as you enter, there is calligraphy, Iranian calligraphy over the door, and it reads, Na Sharqi na Gharbi, which means neither east nor west, and that is Iran. So, I remember that, and I was very impressed with that. I also want to say that you were in the Foreign Affairs Department for a long time as an advisor. You were also spokesperson, and you were so many things. And I'm very, very honored to be able to introduce you and also once again welcome you, Your Excellency, Deputy Minister. Please, if you will, am I doing the work of the program director, or is that me? Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I'll still be on the stage for any questions.
Let's give the ambassador another round of applause. Thank you for those nice words to introduce the Deputy Foreign Minister. Colleagues, now is that time that we've all been eagerly waiting for, to hear what the Deputy Foreign Minister is going to share with us. As he rises, can we please give him a round of applause? Deputy Minister.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I need your help. Either I have to read from the text that my colleagues have written, or should I talk from my heart? So, Ambassador, they decided not to read what you have written for me, okay? So they have done a great job to prepare a full speech for me. But since I'm a professor, I can do this, simultaneously. So if you allow me, I would like, first of all, to thank the organizers, also University of South Africa, the home for Nelson Mandela, huh? So we are very pleased to be here, and I'm very pleased and honored to be among you students, professors, ambassadors, and former officials. I think that this is a very prominent gathering to discuss a little bit about what is happening, what has happened, and what is the latest state of affairs, and what we are going to see in our region. I don't know if I can do all in one session, but I have half an hour, 20 minutes? 15? Okay. So actually they have encouraged me not to talk in my about all the details in my initial speech, to give you the space to ask your questions, and then I detail you. But I start and I stop whenever you laugh, okay? So there is a sign among us. So when you laugh, it means that I have to stop, and I have to just sit and hear what you say. I'm Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran, but I am at the same time president of a think tank, which is the leading think tank in Iran working on foreign policy. So I'm also, under my portfolio, I do have an elite school, a graduate school in which I am teaching. So if you allow me, today I'm going to use my second hat as a professor, as a think tanker, to have a little bit of freedom of speech, to talk a little bit in more free space about what happened, why it happened, and what is the latest state of affairs. My dear colleagues, my country was under attack. United States and the Israeli regime decided to invade Iran. decided to start an aggression against the sovereign state of Iran. They decided to bomb Iran. They decided to kill, to martyr Iran. They decided to drop thousands of bombs on us. They decided to assassinate off-duty commanders in the middle of night with their families, with their neighbors. They decided to slaughter kids in the school. In the first few hours of their aggression, they assassinated the head of state, Grand Ayatollah Khamenei, the leader of Iran, with his family martyred standing in his office. They decided to bomb a school, a primary school, in a very small city with double tap missile to make sure that all kids have been slaughtered. They decided to strike a small city in Shiraz, Lamerd, with prism missile. Do you know what is prism missile? Prism missiles are those missiles with the blast of 180,000 bullets, to make sure that all the people in the sport hall have been killed, to show the level of brutality, the level of barbarism that they can use against the people of Iran. They decided to target a ceremonial vessel 1,000 miles away from the battlefield near Sri Lanka and India. Not only targeted that ceremonial vessel, but a state watched that all the crews being either drowned or killed. And then President of the United States went to the podium and said that was fun. They did all these atrocities to change our strategic calculus from resistance to surrender. They requested for unconditional surrender of Iran. President of the United States of America tweeted unconditional surrender. But in English we have a saying, be careful about what you are wishing for. He wished for a change in our strategic calculus, he got it. We changed our resistance, we changed our strategic calculus from a patriotic, heroic resistance to an all-out pushback against aggressors. We changed our strategic calculus from measured, restrained resistance to an existential war, to war of survival. We changed our strategic calculus once forever, and we did it. They were thinking about our cards. They were thinking about our strategic cards in hands. We were full of cards. The only missing card was capitulation and surrender, and we did it. Through ultimate resilience and ultimate sacrifice, the people of Iran, rallying around the flag, rallying around the country, could defeat aggressors by denying their objectives to be materialized. United States and the Israeli regime decided to attack Iran. We are in academia. The main question is why? Why Iran, and why they started this illegal, unnecessary, unprovoked, as the ambassador said, war of choice? Was it because Iran was posing any imminent threat to anybody, as they were arguing? Of course, if you ask this question from American political structure, based on the market, they would give different answers. Once we heard that Iran was an imminent threat. Imminent threat to whom? By what? We were in the middle of negotiation when they bombed negotiating table. Actually, they betrayed negotiation 2 times. Last year, around this time in June, we were in the middle of negotiation. 2 days after we negotiated through our mediators in Oslo, they attacked us. I remember that day because I was with our foreign minister. Foreign minister of Oman was there, foreign minister of Saudi Arabia was there, foreign minister of Egypt was there, prime minister of Norway and foreign minister of Norway also was there. We were discussing this to the extent, it was advanced to the extent that they were discussing whether Steve Witkoff should fly to Oslo to continue that or going to Muscat. Down the road, we decided to go to Muscat on Sunday, and I'm talking on Wednesday. Thursday night, I arrived home. Midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning, I went to bed. 3 a.m. in the morning, my wife woke me up and told me something bad is happening. I rushed to the window. I noticed that the Israeli regime has started a coordinated aggression against us. They were coordinating for many months, CIA and Mossad, United States and Israel, to assassinate in the middle of night our off-duty commanders. Again, that vicious circle continued and happened this February 27, 28. A day before they started aggression, we met in Geneva. This time, a high representative from UK was there. Mr. Grossi, chief of IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, was there. A delegation from Qatar was there. Our facilitator and mediator, Oman, was there. Everybody was in room when Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner said that we are fine, goodbye, looked in their calendar and said that let's meet up on Monday in Vienna and then just sign and seal the technical aspect of the deal. Everybody said goodbye. Everybody went home. 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, they started aggression against us. If you ask this question, actually last March, Tulsi Gabbard, you know Tulsi Gabbard, she was in charge of the security intelligence apparatus of the United States for under Trump administration. In her hearing in the Congress, when she was posed to this question, she said that, quote unquote, there is no evidence that Iran's peaceful nuclear program has deviated toward weaponization. After 12-day war, last June, the same question posed to the IAEA chief, Mr. Grossi. He said, quote unquote, that please nobody misuse our reports. Iran was not building a bomb. Iran is not building a bomb. So Iran was not threat in any way, let aside to call it imminent. So was it because Iran was not in the negotiating with the United States to settle this dispute diplomatically? I told you, both times we were in the middle of negotiation. So students, professors, you have to ask, why Iran? The answer relies in the doctrine that President Trump said to everybody when he went to the office. You remember his doctrine, peace through strength? Those who have been graduated or studied in North American universities, or those who are familiar with the academia there, they know that Americans are the best in conceptualization and coining concepts to cover up the real intention that they do have. For America First or the MAGA people, peace through strength means hegemony to use up naked force to make sure that the United States is going to remain the hegemon of the world. Maybe they wished for that. This war ended this illusion forever. The invincibility of the United States ended through ultimate sacrifice and resistance of the Iranian people. We told them to the last bullet that we do have, to the last soldiers that we do have, and to the last drop of our blood, we are going to resist. And that was a game changer. The bully was defeated, badly defeated. Strategically speaking, who are familiar with the literature of international relations, bear with me, denying the aggressor, the enemy, in the war of dominance, in the war of hegemony, their objectives per se itself is a strategic victory for the country who is resisting. And Iran did that. In their war of dominance, in their war of hegemony, they wanted to topple down the political structure of Iran. They were misarguing for many years that Iran is on the verge of collapse, and Iran was on the verge of collapse. Just remember, the mainstream media was repeating that Iran is on the verge of collapse. The resilience of Iranian society has come to an end. The people of Iran are ready to revolt against the central government. The army of Iran is incapable of hitting back and pushing back and responding to any sort of war. These sort of misarguments were repeating in the media to the extent that many in Washington bought these sort of misarguments. This war was a laboratory to test all these misarguments, many of which proven to be wrong. Not only the unity of Iranian rise to an unprecedented level, not only the army of Iran was able to push back, hit back, but also balance back. Not only the resilience of Iranian society was unprecedented, not only the Iranian government was not on the verge of collapse, but also Iran showed a different Iran. They wanted to topple down the political structure of Iran. They called regime change. And in parentheses, do you know why they call regime? Regime has a negative connotation. They would like to just inject in the mind of their audience, their target audience, that this is not a legitimate state. So they want to delegitimize, demonize. This is the playbook of what they are doing. They have done it for many decades. If Iran was a regime, such as Gaddafi in Libya, Saddam Hussein in Iraq, or Assad in Syria, then by assassinating and martyring and killing the head of a state, then there should be no regime. In case of Iran, they not only assassinated head of a state, they targeted commanders, they assassinated top officials, head of Iran's National Security Council, and as much as possible they could. Solid base in Iran. 2 hours after they started attacking us, 2 hours, we responded and we hit it and we targeted all American bases in the region. I told you that they changed our strategic calculus forever. And when our strategic calculus changed, we told them that all your bases, all your assets, all your shelters in the whole region is going to be our legitimate target, because all those bases were used to attack us. Pentagon and Trump named many countries that helped him. I don't want to go into that. We told them that if you are trying to have a crusade, you remember Peter Hegseth said that this is a end time war, this is a crusade? You remember that? You remember when he said that we are not obliged to any international norms? Yes, by killing these innocent kids. They wanted to topple down the political structure of Iran. They wanted to disintegrate Iran. They wanted to arm and penetrate terror cells inside Iran. They wanted to diminish Iran's means of defense. They wanted to eradicate Iran's deterrence forever, and many other things in their war of dominance and hegemony. They failed to achieve any of these goals, and this is why that Iran managed to win this battle of survival. The negotiation which happened later on started by their request for end of the war, when they noticed that through this military campaign they cannot achieve anything meaningful except for killing, except for targeting infrastructure, to the extent that you remember that once President of the United States said that he's going to obliterate, quote unquote, the Iranian civilization. We are living in Alice world, yeah? Something is happening. President of the United States says that publicly, without any shame, that I'm going to obliterate the whole civilization. And you know that Iran is the oldest living civilization on earth. No offense to our Chinese and Egyptian colleagues, okay? Obliterating a civilization? We are living in a different world right now. You remember, I'm talking in academia, you remember when UN Charter was established, we were discussing among ourselves that we need a law-based international order. You remember that? We have to move on from a jungle, law to a law-based international order. Then, after the collapse of Soviet Union, Europeans were so happy that there is no Soviet Union anymore, so they advocated rule-based international order. And you know that rule is subject to change. They departed from law to rule. We were silent. We told them that it is wrong. They were so happy that there is no Soviet Union and there is just one liberal center. But now, we don't have even rule-based international order. We do have force-based international order. Countries are attacking each other. There are those who are actually grave violation of international law without any shame. They kill. They assassinated of states, off-duty commanders. All of them are crimes, written crimes. They slaughtered people in Gaza, displaced people in West Bank, live on TV. You remember that the representative of the Israeli regime in the United Nations went to the podium and shred the UN Charter in front of the cameras? You remember that? Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in times of profound transformation and transition in international relations. Africa, Asia, Middle East, West Asia, Europe, everywhere we are seeing this transformation and transition. Iran was subject to this transformation, but we decided not to be on the table. We decided to remain resilient. We decided to resist. And that was our choice. Our choice, that war was not our choice, but resistance and resilience was our choice and is our choice. So the negotiation which is happening right now should reflect the outcome of the battlefield. That is why that from first day of their request for negotiation, we told them that, look, the scene is clear. You are not going to win a negotiation for dominance as you couldn't manage to win a battle for dominance. You are not going to achieve anything that you couldn't achieve through battlefield. We are not for dominance, but we know what has been achieved and what is the latest state of affairs. And this is exactly the logic that we pursued from day one of the negotiation. Iran has been always there. Iran for millennia has been in that era, at that area. And Iran for millennia, inshallah, is going to be there. So this is why that we always give a space for diplomacy. We give a space for negotiation. We give a space for dialogue. We are not somebody that it is for one day here and then leave. This is why that we look at our region and ourselves as anchor of stability, and this is why that we belong to the region. We belong. Israel wanted to be the hegemon of our region, wanted to exercise edge over other countries with the greater Israel illusion. The Israeli regime, from day one of its manufactures in the West Asia, has caused a lot of problem for the region. But this time, by slaughtering and committing war crimes and genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza and Palestine, by attacking different countries, by occupying a great portion or great territory in Syria, by overwhelmingly trying to impose military over other countries, by occupying different lands in Lebanon, by publishing an illusionist map in which that part of Iraq, part of Saudi Arabia, part of Jordan is attached to the Israeli regime, they have made a huge mistake, because now there is an awareness in our region and in the world that this regime should be stopped. And we are very much committed, in collaboration and cooperation with everybody, to bring this awareness into action. And this is why that I do appreciate, in my personal capacity, in my academic capacity, in my think tank capacity, and in my formal capacity, what the people of South Africa has done. You deserve a great applause. Be proud of yourself that you stood up. Be proud of yourself that you sided with the right side of the history. As we are proud when on the first day of the Islamic Revolution of 1979, we cut our relation with the apartheid regime in South Africa. Now we are very much proud. And I was touched with Ambassador Ibrahim when he said about that, and reminded everybody on that. Based on the same logic, Ambassador, we are calling for one-state solution in occupied Palestine. No apartheid in South Africa, no apartheid in occupied Palestine, period. And that is a logic that everybody should follow. As the Islamic Republic of Iran, we think that we need a paradigm shift in our region. That war was a moment of truth in our region. The curtains has risen up. Now everybody is exposed. And this may, with the help of the God, bring us new paradigm of inclusiveness instead of excluding each other. We cannot pretend anymore that American bases in some countries in our neighborhood is for fishing in the Persian Gulf. They are not. 5,000 kilometer range radars are not for detection of environmental species. We cannot pretend anymore that Israel's expansionist policy has no consequences or strategic consequences for our region. We cannot pretend anymore that security for some can be achieved at the risk of insecurity of one or two. And we cannot pretend anymore to think that foreign presence in our region would bring security. Our neighbors, our brothers understood that even American bases was not to protect anybody in the region, but to protect the Israeli regime. You remember, Americans even smuggled the TOD system from South Korea overnight and left South Korea defenseless just to protect Israel. These are going to capture the mindset and mentality of all of us. This war definitely has changed the geopolitics of the region and is going to have very important global ramification and consequences. I stop here. Some of you are laughing. So I see. If any questions, comment, I will be more than happy to hear and answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. He reminded us about the importance of dialogue, diplomacy, that we are in a world that is plagued by shift, and these shifts are quite significant, they are quite rapid, and they are quite deleterious, meaning they are calamitous. So let's give him another round of applause. Colleagues, allow me to call upon Professor Sinokwane, the acting executive of the acting executive director of DIA, which is the Department of Institutional Advancement here at Unisa. My esteemed colleague over there is going to facilitate the questions and answer sessions. I understand, Minister, you wanted to say a lot, but I hope that as questions come from the floor, the Minister would be able to answer those questions. Professor Sinokwane, let's give him a round of applause.
You know, the facilitation is always better when you are sitting down. But there's been a lot of things that has been said, and maybe let me start by greeting everyone, starting with the leadership of Thabo Mbeki School. I know that your dean is somewhere, executive dean. Thank you very much, colleagues, and the reps from different embassies. I've seen the dean also. You know, I always meet him there at NEPAD and APRN. The Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran, the Ambassador of Iran in South Africa. I want to believe everyone is sitting where they are supposed to be sitting. People have been presenting, I believe so. So mine is simple. I'm just going to facilitate questions and answers because I do not possess answers nor questions. But there's been a lot of things that have been said. War, regime change, defense, defenseless, assassinations, international laws, occupation, imposition, erosion of Iran, genocide, negotiations, the blue economy, the minerals, Iran-US agreement, 14 points text. So it's a lot of things. So with those few words being said, I'm now going to allow yourselves now to engage or to have a conversation with the presenter today. I don't think it should be very difficult. Just go straight to the point. Shouldn't be long. Don't have a lot of questions. You see the room is full of people who have a similar question that we have. So let's assume that once you ask one question, the next question that you wanted to ask, the other person wants to ask it. We work with that assumption. So with that being said, let me take hands. There's the first one there, the second one at the back, the third one at the back, the fourth one here, fifth, sixth, seventh, and I stop for now. Let's start there with that order. No, I can't hear you. I don't know if there is the mic.
1 2 1 2.
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished guests and in VVIP. My name is Oscar. My surname is Maula. I come from that side, from Township Shangube. My company is Little Trading Enterprise. My question is, I want to ask regarding, we see what is geopolitics, what is happening. And then recently there's a capturing of a Venezuela president. My question is that what is the outcome from that president is under the prison, captured by America, you see, in prison in America. What is the outcome of that president when he's still there? Is that president gonna assassinate him, or is still gonna be stayed in the prison?
Thank you. There's an order. Yes, please.
1 2 1 2. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Deputy Minister, I'm curious to find out. Well, my name is Dr. Tabang Manyike. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at TM School. I'm curious to find out what's your historical analysis of the conflict, because certainly didn't start last year with the 12-day war. I'm thinking of the coup d'etat in 1953 against Mossadegh for nationalizing the oil. I'm thinking of 1979, of course. I'm thinking about the supporting Iraq against Iran wars, and of course the 12-day wars and the war of aggression. And do you think the Zionist regime will continue again sometime soon? And what do you think is the impact of this victory for the anti-colonial or anti-imperialist resistance in contemporary geopolitics? Thank you.
Okay. Mike is Rovi.
Good afternoon. My name is Yanda. Just two questions for you. Having been through the war, having seen what has happened with the killing of children, men and women, will now Iran start developing fully its nuclear weapon so that in future it's able to protect itself? Especially having seen that countries that say they have, like North Korea, Israel, don't get attacked. That's number one. Number two, will Iran reach out to the countries they bombed that had military bases? Will you go out, be intentional, reaching out and try and to revive the regions you have? Thank you.
There was another hand here.
Good day, Ambassador. My name is Ngawani Junior from the University of Pretoria. The 2021 US State Department report states that Iran continues to sponsor militia groups such as, but not limited to, Hezbollah, Hamas, and ISIS. And with this in mind, it's clear that if Iran builds a nuclear weapon, it won't hesitate to use it. If this enriched uranium is used for civilian purposes, why is it done, or why is it enriched underground?
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A real pleasure to see you, Ambassador, and likewise Deputy Minister. My name is Tato Mazwe Madibo. I'm the co-founder and vice chairman of the African Minds for Applied Research Institute. We're also a think tank, so it's nice to see my counterpart also on stage. A rupture is happening, and a rupture must happen. In the ashes, Deputy Minister, what is your view of a formation of a Global South incorporated security mechanism and an evolution for foreign policy and intelligence pipelines that allows for Global South integrated knowledge systems that allow us to differentiate from a very much hegemonic implied Western rhetoric? And furthermore, Minister, what is your view also on AI and machine learning incorporation within the oil economy? I think we've seen quite a difficult time for the oil economy over the past couple of months. I hope that my views are clear. We must look at these particular voices, especially in the emergence of a new civilization away from Western rhetoric. I hope I was clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The start here will finish with you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Lesego Masisi, and Comrade Deputy Minister, I really loved your inputs. They were very clear and concise, and they give us confidence. We currently live in an era where colonial conquest is still taking place. It's still taking place in different forms and manifestations. The social relations of power globally have not transformed. African post-colonial states have somewhat faced a challenge in how they were configured. And I believe I'm asking the question of how can we draw, what lessons can we draw from state organization in the face of colonial conquest or attempt to institute neo-colonial conquest. I'm also a member of the National Council of the Anti-Apartheid Movement for Palestine. I believe that Article 4 of the UN Charter states that membership of the UN is open to all peace-loving states. So I believe also, what are the, this is my last question, what are the, the feedback, or what moves have you made as Iran to maybe call out countries that have not been peace-loving states to renounce their membership of the UN? I believe that conversation needs to be brought up as well. America has went way over the line, as well as Israel, in the face, to sustain systems of power that are hegemonic in nature. Thank you.
I just allowed him to speak longer because I assumed he was using hieroglyphics to speak. So, but let's just keep it brief so that we are able to give others an opportunity, because I only have 25 minutes strict for us to finish. Thank you. You will be the last one, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Thabiso Mthembu. My question is in relation to BRICS Plus, since Iran is part of it. I wanted to find out, besides issuing of statements and all of that, has BRICS Plus played a critical role in ensuring that this conflict is addressed? And if yes, what are the concrete things that BRICS Plus has done? And if no, what does Iran actually hope for BRICS Plus to do in a concrete manner that is practical? Thank you.
Thank you. You'll be the last one, my brother.
Ashraf Patel, IGD. Honorable Ambassador, my question is on the current move towards the reconstruction of Iran in the Middle East. What role do you see the BRICS bloc playing in rebuilding the Middle East with a new investment and trade architecture? And would trade in commodities and oil be processed through the BRICS payment system and BRICS currencies? And linked to that, how do we strengthen relations with Africa given the high cost of living crisis that we face?
Thank you very much. Ambassador, is there a mic for the ambassador and the deputy minister so that they shouldn't go up and down? I think they'll be comfortable sitting there. Thank you.
Let me stand because I cannot see some of you. If you don't mind, I stay here. So on Venezuela, I think that everybody noticed what happened. They invaded Venezuela. So it was not a choice for Venezuela in any sense. And we are in full solidarity with Venezuela and the people of Venezuela. I had the chance to go to Venezuela a few months before this operation against the legitimate head of state in Venezuela. Still, we don't have enough information of what has happened there. Maybe later on we will notice. But I think that it is not okay that anybody who has the power to violate the international law and law, it's going to be remembered this day or the other day that what United States did was a grave violation of international law. But your question is correct. What are the ramifications? There are going to have ramifications. From the time that they took hostage the president of Venezuela, from the time that they martyred standing the head of state of Iran in his office, was the time that head of state of all countries noticed that there are no targets. Is it okay that India and Pakistan, when they do have problem with each other, they go after their head of states? Or Russia or Ukraine? Or some other countries? It has been always a red line for that. Nevertheless, I told you, there is no law-based international order, no rule-based international order. It is just now force-based international order. based on which we are seeing all these, violations. Regarding Iran-United States relations, past is not in any way suggesting a promising element in Iran-United States relation. 1953, United States decided to orchestrate a coup against a democratically elected prime minister of Iran and toppled down the political structure of Iran at that time. But it was not just United States. The colonial powers did it during the First and Second World War. During the Second World War, they exiled the Shah of Iran to Maurice, and then to South Africa, to Johannesburg. Here. Was Iran party to any war? Or siding with any party, any part of, or any side of the Second World War? No. Iran always has been in the center of their attention to project powers over others. History is history. I cannot, bore you with the history. But let me talk about today. If you are familiar with the geography of Middle East or West Asia and Persian Gulf, I would like to remind you, maybe you don't remind yourself or remember the map of Iran. Map of Iran is a seated cat, a lion, a seated lion. This is the map of Iran. Connects two bodies of waters which are very important, geopolitically, geoeconomically. One body of water in the southern part of Iran is Persian Gulf, and in the north is Caspian Sea. In the Caspian Sea, we share Caspian with 5 littoral states, and in the Persian Gulf, we share with other 7 countries. Why it is important? Because Iran is the only country that connects Persian Gulf to the Caspian Sea in the north, which possesses 70% of all conventional oil and gas of the world. Iran itself possesses the biggest reservoir of natural gas and oil combined with each other. In oil, we are third. In gas, we are 1 or 2. It depends on the assessment. Altogether, we hold the biggest reservoir of gas and oil. Venezuela, very little in terms of, the combination of oil and gas. And Iran is the only remaining country which is not in the American basket as as one of the biggest producer and holders of these natural gas. They did it in 1953. Why they did it against Mossadegh? It was a democratically elected Mossadegh. Because Mossadegh did a very wrong move. Oh my God. What did he do? He nationalized Iran's oil as a pioneer state. Then Britishers went to Americans, Daddy, we need to go to topple down the political structure of Iran. MI6 and CIA orchestrated a coup together, hand in hand, brothers and brothers, to go and do the political structure of Iran to topple down. They wanted to do the same here. The aim was China, matter of discussion. The aim was the whole economy of the world, matter of discussion. What we told them, you have to digest change in Iran. 1979 was the time that Iranians decided to give an answer to 100 years of a struggle for freedom, justice, and democracy. From the constitutional revolution in Iran up until 1979, Britishers and Americans, they tried to sabotage and manipulate every single moment of an independent state or independent government in Iran. 1979 was a huge uprising, a revolution to nationalize everything and to call upon a national. It was not against any country at the beginning. Later on, they made a coup. We call it Noje. Americans did the same After the revolution, they wanted to topple down the political structure of Iran with the coup which failed. And then the students rushed to the embassy of United States and everything happened. We cut the relation. We had relation after the revolution. The only cut that we did in our foreign policy and in our relation was with two regimes in Israel, regime and regime in South Africa, the apartheid regime. We had the full diplomatic relation with everybody else, including the United States. Afterward, they started to put pressure on Iran. Then they helped Saddam Hussein. They covered up Saddam Hussein when he used chemical weapons against us. And I can detail you about what they have done after the revolution to put maximum pressure on Iran, to do velvet revolution in Iran, to trying to play the playbook of collapse of the Soviet Union to adopt on Iran. And the latest was this velvet revolution last January and this latest war. So we have had a very hard history with the Americans. But we shouldn't be taken hostage into history. If the American side understand how to talk in a respectful way and based on equal footing and digest the reality on the ground, digest the new Iran, then we are going to have a different vision ahead of us, which I don't know to what extent is viable or can be materialized. About the victory, the outcome of this, with victory, I think the war has not ended yet. We are in the middle of war. This negotiation still is not going to secure the outcome. You remember, as a strategic thinkers and analysts, you have to expect worst case scenario to happen. Until the further notice, still, worst case scenario is the most probable one in our region. Because we do have the Israeli regime which has not accepted to act responsibly, to be in peace with others, to accept coexistence, to be abided by international law, to leave nuclear warheads that they do have in that very narrow territory, and do not sabotage, assassinate, and these sort of things. And also because United States still, I think, needs time to understand the realities of the new region. I hope that this awareness at the global level, that the time of hegemony has gone and United States is not anymore hegemon. United States cannot play with dollar as a weaponized, currency, can bring actually change. United States has used many things anti-other countries and anti-other blocs. One of the reasons that BRICS has been targeted, one of the reasons that South Africa has been targeted is because of this, the notion of the global South. Let me also answer this global South. Somebody asked. Global South is not an option. Global South cooperation and coordination and collaboration is not an option. Is a necessity, is an obligation. We don't have any alternative. Either we have to accept a new round of bullying, sabotaging, manipulating in international relations, international economy, or we are going to have our voice to be heard. Non-aligned movement had the same logic when it was formed. To a great extent succeeded, to some extent couldn't. But now we have to move on to new out-of-box thinking. BRICS is one of them, and we have to stick to that to help it to evolve to a new understanding. BRICS is not against anybody. But when you are an alternative, the mainstream is trying to sabotage you, to suffocate you. When you are an alternative, the mainstream, whatever is mainstream, is going to suffocate you. And this is why that we have to nourish this idea of global south as a necessity. Iran following nuclear weaponization, the absolute answer is no, because we have our doctrine, we have our religious space, and we have our principled foreign policy. Our principled foreign policy would not change based on the atrocities and barbarism which imposed on us. We think that nuclear peaceful industry is something that everybody should have. And we are ready to help everybody. On the record. What is abandoned and what is taboo is nuclear weapon. Those who are possessing nuclear weapons, we have to work to disarm them, not arm others with nuclear weapons. And this is the logic that we did it. We followed with our Egyptian colleagues from 70s to see Middle East free from weapons of mass destruction, WMD free zone in the Middle East. Objection to that? United States and Israel. And this is our foreign policy. But let me assure you that there is no way that we abandon our right to peaceful nuclear activities. One of the non-starters that avoided us in the first place to accept dictation coming from Washington was that. We told them that it is non-starter. We abandon our right to peaceful nuclear activity. United States is in no position to dictate that or force that to others. Somebody asked about, and read about from the website of United States Foreign Secretary or some websites. Are you familiar with Robert Jervis? He's very famous for misperception and perception and these sort of things. I'm sure that they are going to teach it based on what happened against Iran. The propaganda machinery running in London, in Washington, in Tel Aviv, for many years now, are trying, the Israeli lobby, are trying to label and mislabel independent actors. Now they are labeling you committing genocide. Why? Because you went to the ICJ for genocidal behavior of the Israeli regime. They called Iran a sponsor of terrorism. And what is terrorism? National or nationalism movement in Arab countries, in Palestine, in Hezbollah, in Lebanon. This is terrorism. Anybody or any movement that stands against Israel is terrorist. They kill, they are a state. Slaughter, they are a state. Committing genocide, they are a state. We are proud to stand with anti-apartheid movements everywhere in the world, being in South Africa or being in Palestine. They cannot mislabel one country and everybody. At least we are not moved by this mislabeling. They call Iran destabilizing force, but they never tell you what Iran is destabilizing. Iran is destabilizing their aspiration for hegemony and being dominant in that region. We are not living in a world which is fair. Media is in the hand of few people. Trusts are in the hand of few people. Powers are in the hand of few people and few countries. The others are subject to the power politics that they are doing. But it doesn't mean that the truth is different from what it is actually is happening. And last point, because there are a lot of issues on Palestine. Post-colonial and post-colonialism is a fact, is a truth. It's something that we have nourished and we have to support and we have to sponsor. It is not something fancy, luxury that we put on our shelves and then go to live our life. And I think that post-colonialism is something that is very much inspired from this very country, South Africa.
Thank you. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I am retired. And I don't speak for the Department of International Relations anymore, but I do tend to speak more than I used to. So I saw that in the questions there was mention of 1953, there was mention of anti-imperialism, Iran's reach out, malicious groups, global South, colonial conquest, BRICS, and I think the general theme was around imperialism and analysis. So I just thought that, I mean, it's still fresh in my head because I do read sometimes, and there was something that was very interesting that I read. And I hope that being in a university, I'm not going to bore you. You'll also find it interesting that we sit in the country, but you know, where there is a lot of inequality still. I mean, the land issue. Why is it the way it is? And people can't grapple with it. So I thought, let me try and research that. And if you go back to the, I mean, that's, you know, I do that from time to time. 14th century. In the 14th century, it's, sorry about that. In the 14th century, there was a whole lot of exploration. There was also something called, you know, when they went, they were going to India, but then they discovered America, and, you know, the church had a lot of, you know, at that time, the Roman Catholic Church, and they then realized that they're meeting people for the first time. The word that was used was discovery. And out of that, there were huge debates. Who, you know, are these people human? In the church, there was a debate about the people that you were encountering in other countries, do they have a soul? And that was the question. And if they had a soul, then you are obligated to proselytize and make them into Christians. And once they are Christians, then, you know, the remit of the king would apply, and there was something called the doctrine of discovery. So hence, you know, we still sit with some of these symbols. There's a Lake Victoria, because I think it was named after Victoria because it was discovered, or the Victoria Falls. And implicit in this, which we don't understand sometimes because we think it's just minor, it is the notion of, or the principle of discovery as being then property. And that is what we have. I think we then, as we go and we come to imperialism, colonialism, anti-imperialism, and in that sense, we find that we are at this point where the world is asking for a reset. What does a reset mean? I mean, we all talk about reset. What is the world going to look like? Is it going to be a new order? Is it going to be multipolar? But that reset doesn't take into consideration what already is there. And I think that is what I would like to, as my answer to some of the people, that in your institution, that there needs to be more research done with this regard, so that we don't talk about neocolonialism, no, we don't talk about imperialism. I thought that was my very, it may be a bit obscure, but that was my contribution that I wanted to make to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Minister, for the answers to the questions. And we sincerely apologize because we are running behind schedule. So I would like to call upon Prof. Milo, and I'm giving him 2 to 3 minutes to give us a vote of thanks. Colleagues, please bear with us because the minister has other engagement. In fact, he's supposed to be somewhere now as we speak. So let's also understand. So, Prof. Milo, I trust you.
Professor Mkize, thank you very much. You are actually terrorizing me time-wise, but I'll try my best. Within the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs, we have a series of seminars. And this is one seminar in a series, but the one seminar that has not disappointed, in the sense that it is a seminar that tried to answer a whole lot of questions. And I believe that even beyond the answers that we have given, that His Excellency the Minister has given, there must still be questions. These seminars, and this one in particular, it's actually a feast for students of international affairs and diplomacy studies. It is a feast for the students of politics, peace, and conflict, because these students are now having questions that, Minister, they can go and research. These students are now having questions that they need to probe much more deeper. But in my 2 minutes, let me also say that there was also a golden thread in terms of the discussions, because there was talk about justice. There was talk about choices that are made. So it means for us to have war, we have made the wrong choices. So it means that for us to have any form of conflict anywhere in the world, and Africa is not immune, you know, of wars and battles that are fought in Africa. And ideally, we should be able to make sure that we silence the guns and ultimately there will be peace. Now, on behalf of the TM School and the University of South Africa, let me thank all the participants. And most importantly, let me also thank the organizers, Professor Nukwani, for representing the highest office, Letswalo for taking over and looking after the farm while the farm owner is somewhere else. To the audience, thank you for being with us, for being such a great audience. Thank you so much. Back to you. Okay, I've just been given another task, a quick one. I'm going to start with the foreign minister. I am now, for the Christmas, I'm giving out gifts. Foreign minister, this one is for you. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Ambassador Sally. Where is, okay, here is the gift. And quickly, I'm moving on to the ambassador of Iran. He's also getting a gift. To all of you, the gift of knowledge. Enjoy it.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Milo. Can everybody remain seated while the dignitaries are leaving the room? Thank you.
Thank you. Just a mic.